There we go. All right. Hey, everyone. We are live. James Gardner here with Ariel Jarvis, Vitality Wellness World. All right. Here is another Conversations for Vitality. This is our weekly little get together, Ariel and I, where we just shoot the poop, shoot shoot the crap about all things health, wellness, inside, outside, and everything. We started off the last few sessions talking about gut health as a key area to really going starting this journey for all of us, for anyone. And I know we're going to circle back to health today, or gut health, excuse me. Today, we really want to dive in on in my humble opinion, the true pandemic of the world, and that is mental health. Um, Mental health is an inside game, as we're going to have a discussion today, both from the gut and from the brain. Let's open it up and share your insights in the connection with mental health and what you do.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So I always like to start from the basics, and you are what you eat. And in order for you to have a healthy cell, there's certain fundamentals that have to take place to rebuild the foundation of that cell. Healthy cell, healthy cellular system, healthy organism. Your cells absorb, and then they transport, they activate, and then they detox. There's a certain process these cells have to go through. And what people don't realize is there's more neurons in your gut than in your brain. And the microbiome has its whole ecosystem, just like the ocean. And the ecosystem is pH sensitive and food sensitive. A healthy ecosystem, microbiome or microflora, requires a certain pH, lots of hydration, cleansing the bowel daily, and also making sure that you are introducing plants, fiber, and fermentation as prebiotics to feed the probiotics. These are your friends. We want to feed our friends properly. Otherwise, we start to develop an unhealthy microbiome. An unhealthy microbiome will start to initiate unhealthy bad bacteria. This can look like parasites, fungus, mold, different bacteria, pathogens, you name it. What happens is these bad bacteria are feeding on the type of food that you're giving them. And they love fast food, processed food, sugar, starch, gluten, red meat. They love it. And so when you're constantly feeding them, which ecosystem is going to thrive? That's up to you. Now, because they are a live unicellular microorganism, that means that they defecate. They poop, they pee, they throw off the pH. They also, some of them, divide every 20 minutes based on how much you feed them. So you need to be really intentional about this process, because what happens is the byproduct is gas, mycotoxins, and a lot of really damaging neurotoxins. Now you're like, why do neurotoxins play a role? Neurotoxins are endocrine disruptors. Your endocrine system is your hormonal system. If you disrupt your hormonal system, you're going to have issues with telling the cells how to activate and how to turn on. Hormones have so many functions, including cellular activation. So what happens then is you have underactive cells. So you have an underactive bowel. People get a sluggish bowel, constipation, bloating, diarrhea, you name it. And you also have to think about your teeth. You brush your teeth to get the plaque off. Well, how do you brush your colon? You can't actually brush it. So psyllium is playing a huge role as a broom. It goes in there and it sweeps and it gets rid of the garbage that's plaqued on the colon wall, because that's where most of your vitamins get absorbed.
What is psyllium exactly?
Psyllium is a type of bulking fiber. Yeah. And we recommend that every single patient or client or just anybody consume about 2 to 3 capsules of psyllium in the evening before bedtime. And what that will do is it's going to work while you're sleeping. It's going to reduce your cortisol, your cholesterol, help brush your teeth while you're sleeping for the colon.
Right.
And it's going to help you remove all that slime, all that sludge. And people actually can start to remove sacs and parasites. They can remove mucus from the bowels. It's really interesting. You want to have a squeaky clean colon. Very important. Now you can start to absorb, right? What people don't realize is the average person has about 76,000 thoughts a day. Most of them are repetition. The body works in patterns. What people also don't realize is, yes, there's more neurons in your gut than in your brain. So how do the neurotoxins get from the gut to the brain? Through the vagus nerve. You have a nerve that is connected from the gut to the brain, sending toxins to the brain. Now remember, toxins get stored in fat cells. Where are the fat cells on your body? In the brain. That means they're going to get stored in the brain, creating a whole bunch of neurological disorders affecting your dopamine, your oxytocin. Now, where is most of our serotonin produced? In our gut. So if we're blocking serotonin production and we have toxins entering the brain, blocking the blood-brain barrier, and now we have a problem with oxytocin and our dopamines and things like that, we're going to have a lot of issues. Mental health is something that people are becoming more and more aware of, and they're becoming more transparent about talking about. It's okay to have a bad day. It's okay to grieve. It's okay if you have trauma. There's a lot of things that are out of our control, but how we respond is up to us, and food plays a huge role. That's why they call it food triggers. A lot of women say that, oh, I'm pretty good with my diet until I get to my menstrual cycle. Then that whole week is just like blackout. I eat all the chocolate and I'm doing all the bad stuff. That's because you're activating the parasites in the microbiome during your menstrual cycle, creating sugar cravings. One thing that you can do to start to prevent sugar cravings is balancing blood sugar throughout the day.
Right.
When you have an imbalance in blood sugar, the body wants to recalibrate and reset. So it goes for the quick sugars or the quick carbs, the quick caffeine, or all the stimulants. And those are not going to be sustainable for the blood sugar throughout the day. They'll create a spike, which puts you into a fat storage mode. And then you'll get a crash, which puts you into a fat storage mode. So people are constantly going fat storage, fat storage, fat storage, fat storage. What does that do? It shakes up your central nervous system, creating a spike and creating contractions in your diaphragm area, creating anxiety, panic disorders. And then over a period of time, it exhausts the adrenals, creating depression. So do you need a medication for your anxiety? Do you need a medication for your depression or your panic disorders or any sort of diagnosis that people start to give you? I'm not saying yes, I'm not saying no. I'm saying, why don't we discuss what you're putting in your body first and how you're maintaining your blood sugar first? Start there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's, I saw this firsthand back in 2014 when I took the leap and just decided to go plant-based. I was like, why not? I've tried everything else and this was a performance for my rowing. And outside of a couple of the telltale signs, which was my body, I didn't have soreness anymore, and this all happened in the span of a week. I could feel the inflammation go down. I wasn't stiff. I wasn't sore. I had a consistent energy expenditure during the day. The big thing though was I felt that my moods shifted, my balance, and hormonal, however you want to call it, the James Gardner that showed up that used to kind of be up and down, and I just figured it was my natural rhythm, really started to flatline in a good way. And that's when I really started to, for myself, pay attention to that connection of what goes in has a direct correlation on this.
Yeah.
And of course, plant-based, it's not about what's healthier, what's not healthier. It's just instinctively there are better options out there than to eat, right? Than not. And instinctively we talk energy, and you are what you eat, as you had said. And we instinctively know there's, units of higher frequency when we eat something that's healthy. Just instinctively, like, right? We feel it, right? We know it subconsciously, consciously. It's like, when you walk down the produce aisle, for example, you're like, oh, fuck. Like all that looks good. It's healthy, right?
And did you know that you can actually quantify that? So in quantum mechanics and science, you can actually identify the frequency and vibration of your food. And so they do this test where they actually pull it up and they show it on a screen. And they look at food that's organic. And so let's take an apple that's organic and an apple that's not organic. And the organic one will actually have a bigger light around it when they do this test. And it will show the frequency is more powerful, the ATP production is more powerful, the energy, the ability for it to photosynthesize, it's storing a lot of kinetic energy for your cells. Well, same with certain foods that are processed, right? A lot of processed foods have poor kinetic energy, have poor stored potential energy. And so when we're eating these to get the energy, you're not going to be getting it to the optimization of the food that it was designed to do. So then you have to eat more. So then the calories go up, the inflammation goes up, the nutrients go down, and you're left feeling empty and fat.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's energy. We talk, we've been talking about at the cellular level, one cell at a time. Everything ultimately is energy.
Yeah.
What channel or what are we dialed into that we want to put in, that we want to surround ourselves with, that we want to operate at? When we talk mental health, with a lot of the work that I do, Ariel, as you know, with personal development with my clients, I really look at it like a foundation and a ceiling. So mental health to me, at the end of the day, we all just want to be happy.
Yeah.
Like we all want to feel good. We want to be happy, right? Yeah. So whatever that means to each of us. It's a two-prong approach, because if we focus on what goes in, i.e. the gut health, boom, mental health can be stimulated. Positive mental health can be stimulated here. Then, as performance individuals, how we show up in the world, we need to create a mindset. We need to come from the ceiling, from the brain, if you will, talking about winning rituals and creating positive affirmations and habitual response patterns and all of that. And ultimately, what that does is the gut works mental health up. The brain also affects what's underneath it. And what happens, I find, is when we come at it this way, we land in the middle, which is our heart, and we feel full or more full. Yeah. And I think there's no magic pill out there. However, there are avenues to take. There's no one thing. I do feel that this is a non-negotiable in terms of you can't just eat something and expect to feel great and show up and you're tiptoeing with rainbows and unicorns. It doesn't happen that way. It can put you on the path. Then what are you going to do from the intellectual side, from the emotional standpoint, to really gauge our own individual energies, who we're aligning with, how we want to show up, creating non-negotiables. I mean, like the way we operate, and we make business decisions based solely on that. What frequency are we getting? Yeah. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Right. So it's
bad vibes.
I know, right? Obviously this is a deep discussion. What can people do? I mean, I just said going plant-based, for example. You gave a great tidbit about the psyllium. What are some things that people can do right now, conscious decisions, to focus on the gut, elevating mental health from within?
Great question. So food is medicine, but what people don't realize is just like you can overdose on your pharmaceuticals, you can overdose on your food. You can overdose on that medicine. So a couple key things. Number one is if you're lacking with your serotonin, cut down on the coffee. Coffee actually depletes you of your serotonin. What it does initially, one cups a day is okay, but if you're doing 3, 4, 5 cups a day, what's happening is it's a diuretic. You're losing your iron, your magnesium, your calcium. It's spiking your cortisol levels, which is going to help you gain fat around the midsection. It's also making you lose your water. It's also putting the body into an acidic state. It has a pH of 5, killing the microflora. Now the microflora has to repopulate. And the other thing is it spikes your dopamine, so it makes you have that addictiveness because it's that feel-good hormone, and then it drops your serotonin levels. So 1 cup a day, if you want to switch to tea, that would be a recommendation. The other thing is 10 cashews a day is the equivalent to a serotonin boost. So if you're struggling with depression, eat 10 cashews a day. If you're struggling with insomnia, eat 10 pistachios before bed. What it does is 2 hours before bed, it will actually ignite melatonin in the body. You don't want to take melatonin, but you want your body to make melatonin. And remember, serotonin is the precursor for melatonin. So if you're low in serotonin, you're going to be low in melatonin.
Huh.
The other thing that you can think about is taking probiotics, because probiotics get destroyed very easily in the gut. So you need to constantly repopulate that ecosystem with a diversity of probiotics, not just the same kind. Switch it up. The other thing you need to make sure that you're doing is you're feeding the probiotics. Plants, fiber, fermentation, not fast food and not sugar. Otherwise, you just took an expensive probiotic for it and it's a waste of time. If you're struggling with digesting your greens, go to the dollar store, get a glass bottle, put some apple cider vinegar in it, and spray down your salad. No dressing. Spray down your salad, and when you eat your salad, you will digest it fully.
Okay. Thank you for that. That was amazing. I have two clarifying questions.
Yeah.
Number one, is there a slight difference for organic versus non-organic coffee?
There's a huge difference. So
Okay.
I won't name certain coffee shops, but there is a coffee shop that was actually sued because they used to have organic coffee and now they don't. And there was a lot of their customers that ended up getting cancer because non-organic coffee most of the time is sprayed with a product called glyphosate, and glyphosate creates cancer and leaky gut, and you can learn about it. It was developed by Monsanto in 1980, and coffee is widely sprayed. And so what happens is, because it's an oil, water and oil don't mix. So when you grind it up and you make a hot drink, it's not being washed off by the water. So it actually embeds itself into your phospholipid bilayer, which is your fatty bilayer, because the oil will find the oil and then they mix, because water and oil don't mix. So what happens is it goes into your fat cells and it can create issues with your hormones, your immune system. It can turn cancer on. It can affect apoptosis, which is cell suicide, leaky gut, you name it. We have a lot of patients here that have developed like fibroids, PCOS, leaky gut, and menstrual problems because a lot of girls overconsume coffee. They drink their hot coffee, their iced coffee. They don't realize, but they probably had like 2 or 3 liters of coffee that day, and they're consistent about it. And so they're substituting food for coffee. And so what's happening is they're really pushing it into their cells, and they're getting a lot of issues. So it requires some detoxing. So reduce your coffee for sure.
And the second question, this is a personal question, 10 cashews.
Yes.
So for someone like myself who has a nut allergy,
yes,
homie can't play that game. So what would you recommend?
So for people with a nut allergy, we would recommend HTP Power, or you can do 5-HTP. It's an amino acid. It helps your body make serotonin.
Okay, gotcha.
And that's a capsule.
Yeah. Okay, familiar with that. 5-HTP. Awesome. Wow. Okay. Here it is, gang. Mental health is an inside job. It's begins in the gut, added and begins in the brain. Let's do the work. Be smart. I know, Ariel, I still want to have conversations about this because what I'd love to do with you at some point is my mom, for example, struggles. She's been diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and I know that there's a direct correlation with that and
Yep.
food.
Yep.
And so there's a lot of things that we're going to keep discussing here each and every week. So I look forward to that. And for anybody that watches this that has some inquiries, some topics, some conversations that you would love, or questions that you would like either of us to answer, feel free to put it in the comments, and we'll reach out and engage with you. So,
and if I may, before you head off, I just wanted to mention a couple of things. Yeah. I think this is just 3 little tools that's going to be really helpful for people. I call them food triggers for a reason. They are the 3 destructive food triggers. Sugar creates anxiety, so refined sugar. Gluten creates brain fog and joint pain, and it can stimulate, if you have arthritis, it can stimulate your arthritis flare-ups. And dairy can create mucus buildup, hormonal issues, acne, and depression. So just be very careful with those food triggers. I wanted to mention them earlier, so just be very careful with those. If you've noticed that you're sensitive to food, just be mindful. And if you're noticing that some of these foods are putting you into a mental spiral, then start eliminating them from your diet and see how you feel.
Yeah, great reminder. Those are huge, 3, huge. Yeah. And I know that those 3 directly affect me for sure.
Oh yeah, 100%. I'm off the whole day. Yeah.
So, all right, thanks, Ariel. We'll see all of you next week. Come next Wednesday, same bat time, same bat channel, 9:30 Pacific Standard Time. Mad love to the courageous. To you, Ariel, you rock as always. And thanks, gang. Talk soon.